Live. I like this interface, especially if it's not going to be laggy. So we shall see if that works out. We don't have. Oh, we do have. Yes, yes. Awesome. It's a good thing. I have to make sure that. Oh, nice. Now let's use gain or brightness, one of those, both of those, to get that nice light that I have in here. Too bad we can't use, like, we can't change the focus, like a depth of field, because that would be good. Kind of looks interesting in black and white, though. White balance is getting a bit, yeah. I need to calibrate for the clay. Hello. I will calibrate for the clay, but I'm trying to get the color of my shirt, which for some reason I've never been able to get the proper color of my shirt. Oh, actually, this is getting closer. But with this webcam, for some reason, of course, not as too much. It's actually quite a bright Irish green that I have here. For some reason, the only way to do it is this way, which could actually be interesting. Maybe this is better. Just me fidgeting because I don't really need the accuracy. Like, this is actually a bit dark and gloomy. I would like to have a little bit better light, but so that's not so bad. Maybe I should adjust the rest manually. Better than last time. Alright, let's let go of that crazy obsession and let's get back to work. You tell me if the sound quality is good, because I can't tell on my end. Maybe next time I should install my, maybe I will install my ASMR, binaural microphone. It's not so difficult. Thank you, Huntsman. Hooded, I can't speak. Hooded Swordsman. Your name is familiar. Were you here last time I tried this? I can't keep track sometimes. I know I was quite tired last time, so maybe that's it. I saw a particle I didn't like. So this is for a puppet. I'm building a latex puppet for a... And that was 2 days ago. That's what I meant last time. Was 2 days ago. So I'm building a latex rubber dragon puppet. It's going to have a fabric neck, but the whole head is going to be latex in one piece. And I'm still working on, it's mostly solved. I mean, I've been working on symmetry a lot in the past few days, on and off. And that spike is weird. Needs a bit more direction. That's better. Can you hear the tool on the clay when I do something like this? I don't really have control over the volume levels on this microphone, not without OBS. Okay, good. With the other microphone, I have a physical button for that, so I'm using the Blue Snowball, which is a very sturdy microphone considering how many times I've dropped it. The two things I don't like about it is that it does not have a very good sensitivity level. You have to boost it with some software. So that's why you usually go for OBS Studio, because you can use a gain filter. And you also, that swivel head on it is really no good. And it doesn't seem like you can actually adjust it. There's no way to screw it on. Everything else is adjustable, but that top part means the microphone is mostly pointing up all the time. I keep on trying to adjust it. It's not great. Someday I'll probably just hot glue it in place. So far, the best microphone I've had, I have two because I use one as a recorder and the other one as, you know, mostly as a recorder, but sometimes I use it by itself. I have the Zoom H5 with the, um, I bought it, it came with the XY capsule, which I broke. And since then, I bought what they call the mid-side capsule, which is a bit better for certain things, but I miss my XY, so I'm going to get another one eventually. And that is also a recorder, mostly a recorder. So for most of my videos, I've used that as the recorder, the main thing that you plug the actual microphone on to make it work. So it becomes a mini recording studio, basically. So I use the BEP1 by Binaural Enthusiast. That's my only binaural microphone, actually. The other one is pretty good stereo, but it's not binaural. Eventually, I would like to have one of those in-ear binaural microphones so that I could just walk around and record what I hear. Hopefully, the sensitivity levels would be adjustable enough for that to not be too loud. I know with my current microphones, if you calibrate for soft sounds, everything else around the microphone will be too loud. It's just too subtle. It's made for indoor studio sounds recording mostly. I actually consulted with the guy who makes the Binaural Enthusiast, who also is an ASMR artist, and he told me like these are actually designed for up close and personal sounds. If you want to have, to capture outdoor sounds, you should get yourself a proper field microphone, something designed for that, something adjustable for that. Yeah, exactly. By in ear, I mean they look like earbuds. They can be used as earbuds because you can listen back, or you can listen, I think, as you record. Hello, Matthew Ori. Um, so I like the idea of them. I just haven't tried them on. Would be hard to try before you buy because those are in ears. So once you have them in, you can't refund. You can't get a refund or a return. So that would be a risk. Eventually, it would be very cool to have those super high end. What's it called? Free space studio. Free space. Free space. Something something. Thank you very much. So today I'm winding down my day of work. I didn't do much work today actually, so this is me trying to not feel so guilty about going to bed. Um, just by doing a bit more work. Plus, it slows me down, as I am, of course, using the soft voice and no loud music. Healer videos are pretty popular. I like that. I am planning more, but I've just been very, very busy, which, everybody says, but usually it's true. So I want to do more robot repairs as well. I have one planned for my cats, at least one, probably several. I adopted two cats recently, and they're all about the crinkles. I think cats have ASMR, especially mine, especially with the crinkles. I've been giving them some craft paper to play with on my bed behind me, and you might hear them later if they decide to pay us a visit. They like to hang out in the kitchen right now for some reason. I think they're hunting ants. They found one earlier. I had to kill it because I don't want it to get back and bring more. Uh, you open today. Yeah. What are you opening today? Are you opening a store? Yeah, the Android video was something I was wanting to do for a while, and that night I just felt like it. But I admit I did not plan, I did not prepare enough. I had been planning, but I didn't take the time to really gather more sounds, sound causing tools. Opening shift at a store. Okay. Well, congratulations, anyways. Without your help, the store might not open on time. So good for them. Have someone to go and do that. We need people like that. Like today, I want to go after I sleep some, and once the stores are opened, which is usually a good idea, to wait for that. Otherwise, you might end up in an annoying situation with the police. But when the stores open, I want to go and shop for some underwear, and it seems to be like an impossible task. It's ridiculous. I haven't bought underwear in years because I take care of mine really well. But for some reason, the the era of just showing up at a department store and getting a pack, a multi-pack of simple basic cotton underwear is gone. It seems to exist online, but when I look online for actual physical stores here, I can't seem to find what I need, or at least they don't list it. So before I go shopping, I'm going to make a few phone calls to see if they actually have underwear. Like there's this family clothing store that's pretty close. I could just ride my bicycle to, and they don't list any underwear on their site, which is nonsensical to me because they list everything else. Shirts. They don't sell. They don't sell. They don't list underwear or socks. Not even bras for ladies. So that's just weird. Maybe they just didn't take the time to fill it. A lot of old-fashioned stores don't have, or don't take the time to have or maintain, or both, a website properly. So basically, they'll tell you just show up at our stores and find out what we have. Hi, Shadow Hound. Crinkles, mechanical sounds, personal attention, soft speaking. Don't like whispering. I sometimes like whispering. I don't like my whispering, but I know some people like it, so I do it for them. But mostly, I like the soft spoken stuff. I want to do more art stuff like I'm doing now. I want to do more digital painting, traditional ink drawings for those scratches on paper. Back to my cats. Yeah, the cats could just be. I would set up first and then coax them with some treats, and they'd just be. You'd see them just playing and lounging on the bed over the craft paper, and the crinkles are pretty satisfying. Something like that. Hello, Gaijin D manga. So maybe later you'll hear the cats coming. They're just hanging out in the kitchen right now, but they also are really good with the purring, and I can start them purring pretty much anytime. I just have to pet them. Both of them are very loud purring cats. So those are two videos that I have in the works, in my head at least. I'm thinking about how I'm going to set up the microphone so they don't knock it down, preferably. Um, they're quite playful, so you got to plan ahead for that. Uh, I did not. I learned on the job. I made one puppet that I still have. The first one I ever finished felt so satisfying to me that I decided on the spot that this was what I would wanted to do for a living. I already had a career goal since I was 10 years old. I wanted to be a children's book illustrator and writer eventually. And I could not find the training for it at the time. I was badly informed. I was lied to. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I had detoured into graphic design as I was told that was the closest I could get in Canada, which was a lie. There was actually at least two programs at two different areas where I could have learned traditional illustration. So, anyways, after years of detours and trying to work, I was working at art supply stores one day I finished my first puppet. Actually, I was still in college back when I finished that puppet. But when I finished it, I said, once I finish with this year of college, I'm gonna be a puppet maker. And I had no training. I had no hello, David Z. I had no training. I had no contacts in the field at all. Most people that you know that I knew at first, that I got to know at first when I moved to the big city. I'm in Montreal now. Were from theater schools. Like they either learned to be, actors first, comedians, actors, and then they found a passion for puppetry, or some actually came from, out of nowhere. They became puppeteers like me, but I only got to meet those later. What happened is I fell in love with the building of a puppet and how powerful it felt to be able to tell a story with a creature that looks like it's alive. And at first, I didn't feel like I was good enough to perform. So I was just a designer and a builder, sometimes both. Sometimes I just built what people told me to build from their drawings. But over the years, I've been doing this for 18 years now. I've gotten some techniques that I can be proud of, and the people seem to appreciate enough to hire me over and over. So, like this guy is probably the 15th puppet I built for one company. It's a small family business, but they're growing and they love my work. So it's really, really rewarding to get a new gig from them. So I give them my 110% every time. Hey, Rangers, awesome. You found my, how did you find it here? Did I mention it in my show on iVlog? How long does it take to make a puppet on average? Thankfully, you added average because I'm looking at a camera here. I'm used to having a secondary camera with OBS, but I'm using YouTube right now directly because I can't seem to make it work with OBS without it being super, super, super laggy. So for now, I'm using this basic interface, but I like it. Anyways, oh, you subbed to my ASMR channel. Okay. So on average, making a puppet, I ask for a month because I always have more than one project going on at once. So this is one of currently 4 jobs that are on the roster currently. So I'm finishing today or tomorrow. I'm finishing a Toto dog puppet for a production of The Wizard of Oz in Ontario, Canada. I have the head right here. Not finished exactly, but let me show you a better angle here. He's not great for the light. He's just so dark. And he's got an articulated mouth with a trigger on top. Currently, the spring is not installed, so I can't show you how it moves, in real time, but at least you can see that it's open. So I have a full body, life-size Cairn Terrier, at least it's based on a Cairn Terrier. Let me try to change the light a bit. Does that help? Maybe not too much, but there's still a bit of trimming to be done on his fur to make sure he's got the right shapes, but that's what he looks like without a body. But I'm the guy a lot of people contact for at least inquiry about price when they want to have a puppet on their production of The Wizard of Oz. And they usually think it's too expensive, so... Oh, hello. Hear the crinkles? That is Pencil, one of my 2 cats. Hey, Pencil, buddy. Man, it would be so easy with a second camera. If I want to show him to you, I would have to change everything. Hey, Kiza. Yes, I'm currently on a job that went wrong. Not this one. I'm building a life-size horse puppet, and it's a disaster. So it's been on hold for a few months, and the customers seem to be very patient for some reason. The fault is partially mine, but it's mostly mine because I accepted to do it. Besides, despite them insisting on a feature that I told them not to include. Like I asked them, please don't do that. It's bad. It's a bad idea. And they insisted. So that one feature made everything into a disaster. Because one thing not completed prevents me from going further. Also one that involved plaster molding. This will have a plaster mold. Kiza, are you the same as on iVlog? Miss Kiza, or hey, it's Miss Kiza, something like that. Oh yeah, that's a story from another time. Yes, you remember that one. Yay, so you guys are following me everywhere now. For those watching, my regular broadcasting area is on ivlog.tv, IVLOG.tv. It's a fantastic independent streaming website. It's been on for a few years now. I was a supporter of it during its original fundraiser, and I'm glad they never disappointed. They always, I should say, it's run by one person and his team of volunteers. His username online is Cream, CR3AM. Check out this site, it's fantastic. I'm only not there right now because there was a lack of traffic. I wanted a bit more traffic because after a certain hour, there's not much people on that site. That's all that's missing, really. The site is super stable. And if you have a paid account, you can actually control the quality of your stream quite perfectly. So I love it. It's where I want to do more ASMR stuff there. It's where I usually broadcast my live or studio work. Of course, it's a bit more noisy than what I'm doing now because I have music in the background and I use tools that are louder. But if you're curious about the artistic process, then you're welcome to join us there. Currently, it's around 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. 3:46, so it's closer to 4. Can you hear the cat purring in the back? Unfortunately, he doesn't like to be picked up, so I try not to impose that. But if I pet him a bit, he might get even louder. The punch puppet. Wow, that's a while ago. I still make them if people need them, of course. Oh, belly rub time. I have two very different cats. They're brothers from the same litter. And one is super affectionate and likes to be on my lap. Likes to be in my face if I let him. But he doesn't like belly rubs that much unless he's on my lap already. Sideways belly rubs. This guy who's next to me right now, he's on my bed. He likes belly rubs anytime. The crocodile was actually for the same series of punch puppets. So I've been adjusting the eyelids because I noticed they were not even. They looked like they had a strange focus. So that's what I'm doing. I realized a while ago, but I have not yet embraced it fully, that I could have just covered the eyeball completely with the same thickness of clay everywhere. And then I could have cut out the clay to reveal the eyeball again. And that would ensure that the shape is the same on both sides. Mostly. Pieces of glass, my goodness, it's been a while. Were you one of those who bought a copy of that? Oh, no, actually, can't be, because I only made 2. I sold the first one, and then an ex-boyfriend of my sister's bought the second one that I had to make for him. Yeah, okay. I can still make some. I don't have the mold anymore, but my sculpting skills are far better. So I would definitely make something a lot more realistic. I'm just waiting for an excuse to do so. And by excuse, I mean a paycheck. Hint, hint. So should you want one, I'll have some availabilities after or maybe during August. I could even take the commission during July, so you can reserve my time. Just so you know, it's a possibility. Yes. My fee for a full face mask, just a face, would be around, it will be under $300. I'm going to make them out of neoprene from a plaster mold. So once the mold is made, the copies are not too difficult to make. It's just a long process of painting them to my standards. I don't know how I would add the glass shards onto that, but I'm sure I'd figure it out. The maker of the product I use, the Creature Cast rubber, told me of which glues to use that work well on it. So probably just go with those and add a bit more of Creature Cast rubber on top, so it's paintable. So yeah, it depends on what I make. Like these dragons are, how much did I charge for this dragon? The original is a bit more expensive than the copies because, of course, I have to design it and make a mold. But I tried to ventilate the price over several copies. So they didn't buy any exclusive rights on this one, so I can sell as many copies as I want. So for that reason, it doesn't have to be as expensive. You know, hoping I'll sell a bunch. Stitchmen. Oh yes, those. Yeah, I call them mellow people. My mellow people don't look at all like the characters from Little Big Planet, but because they have stitches, people automatically think of that. So there's a difference between, oh, it reminds me of, and oh, it looks the same. You look at pictures next to each other and they look nothing like each other. So yeah, people have a strange sense of observation, but that's okay. Like an attention, mister? It's still cute. I wonder if we can switch cameras while we're broadcasting. I don't see an option for it. It's a very simple interface. An online gallery. Oh yes, I should probably be a bit more professional about this. I did not prepare for that tonight. But I do have a Facebook. The Facebook is The Creaturist. So TheCreaturiste. So Creaturist, but with THE first. Don't forget the E at the end. That's my name for everywhere. You know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a website on Wix. But if you want to access it easier than typing the whole address, I believe the shortcut is tinyurl.com/creaturista3. Please, someone let me know if that's still good. I have not checked in months. Hello, Shane Sparrow. So I'm still working on the subtleties of the main surface. Later, I will do some detailing. I don't want to smooth anything until everything makes sense and that the detail is there everywhere. Yes. Pandini, is she here? It's been a while. Actually, she changed her name so many times, I forget which one she is now, or which one we should call her. In fact, I think all her personas are mixed up in my head. I don't know who is what, who is who. I see her as different people now, so. One of them was the Great Pandini, I think. Was something else here? Captain Clutch. Yeah, those are the two, yeah, of yours. So, I intend to do more videos like this one. I'll probably leave this one up, even though I was talking about my frustrations of not finding proper underwear downtown, but you know, everybody needs those things. So it's probably not too embarrassing. But the I would like to set up a bit better and do some better sound quality videos here for ASMR purposes, using the art stuff, of course, as an excuse. So this is monster clay. You don't have to make monsters out of it, but it certainly helps when you do, because it's fun. And it's a very waxy, very firm clay at room temperature if you use their hard variety. I actually have a blend right now of medium and hard, because for years, since 2012 until early 2017, I only bought medium, which was their regular at first, but then they introduced the hard. So I started buying only the hard. And now they're blended together pretty well. So I have an in-between kind of consistency, which is just right for what I currently do. Thank you. I'm currently being more relaxing on purpose because this is my ASMR channel after all. That's why you don't have any background music or anything. Although, I could probably put some nature sounds in the back. I've done that before. Oh shit, I forgot about that. You might hear a ball track for the cats right behind me. If it gets too loud, let me know. It's plastic against plastic under crafts paper, so might be interesting as a trigger. Oh yes, I still make several varieties of popcorn seasonings. For those who don't know, you don't have to complicate things. What I do is I pop my popcorn, and while it's still very hot, I pour a blend of spices. Well, sorry, while it's still very hot, I sprinkle some oil on it, maybe 2 tablespoons for a big batch of popcorn, and I shake it like some shake and bake method quickly. Open the cap, the container, I add the spices, shake again. It's a pretty good distribution at that point. And my favorite mixes are, from simpler to more complex. I like salt and pepper, of course. It's a classic. My 2 main ones are salt and pepper and barbecue. My barbecue mix is really, really fine sugar. You could actually grind your own using a pestle and mortar, which is what I do usually. But you could use confectionery sugar as well. Just a very little amount of sugar compared to the other spices, just to add that sweetness to it, even though corn itself is pretty sweet. And the sunflower oil I use is adding a bit of a butter taste. I actually now prefer it over the real butter taste. I don't know why, but when I pour real butter on my popcorn, it's not as satisfying anymore. So for the barbecue, I mix Hungarian style paprika, which is smoked. It's a deeper flavor. Some sea salt, lots and lots of black pepper, a little bit of cayenne pepper, a tiny pinch of really, really fine powdered sugar. Again, I use the pestle and mortar to do that. I actually add the salt to the sugars to help with the grinding process. That helps. And I finish with, what was it? Salt, pepper, paprika, cayenne. Oh, onion powder. It's important to have onion powder for that whole meaty taste. Like when you do a fake chicken sauce or soup, or even a real one, you gotta add the onion powder. For some reason, that just gives that chicken taste. Hello now. I am well. I'm quite relaxed. I've had pretty much a mostly off day today. I went shopping briefly and I got almost everything I needed. And I came back and I just watched some stuff online and didn't feel too guilty about not working for some reason. Because it's the weekend and some people have days off, so might as well have one too, which is not my usual. But I'm trying to make it so, number one, because it's important to have some breaks. How about you? Are you well? Are you better now that you're here in this stress-free artistic environment? Hey, where's my background noise, dude? Make me some noise. I have 2 cats behind me right now. And I put some craft paper on the bed so they can crinkle a bit for you. Jump up. So recently I adopted 2 cats from a shelter organization. They're brothers from the same litter. I renamed them because their names did not fit them at all. I renamed them Pencil and Ink. Considering I'm well into illustration and I want to get more into that, it just made sense. And they're gray. One is gray, one is black. So both of them are tuxedo cats. So they have the white stuff underneath. They have bellies and they have white socks. They're quite nice looking. I didn't even choose them for their looks. I had no idea what kind of looks I was after because that's not important to me. But must admit, it's really cool to have some cool looking cats in here. Yay, lazy day. Thank you. This is going to be a latex puppet. It's going to be rubber latex. So very flexible kind of dude. He's going to have a fabric neck. And he's also going to have a separate fabric hand, or I should say a paw or a claw. How would you call that? A dragon's claw. I have a painting that I still have to finish from probably 2002 or 3 that I called Gathering at Dragon's Claw. And I would really like to get back to that. Maybe I'll even remake it digitally because the large canvas is, I don't know, it's a little bit too textury for me. Yeah, somebody mentioned Figment the other time and I forgot to look it up. I don't know who that is exactly. Figment. Some keyboard typing for you. Okay. Yeah, you got that triangular shaped head, Disney style. Okay. Yeah, I see. I see how it might remind you of that. I hope mine is unique enough not to confuse people too much. I'm looking at their picture and yeah, it looks like mine is a little bit more bony and defined. Of course, I'm looking at different versions of it online. Somebody even seemed to make a stitch version of Figment, which is interesting. But yeah, I can see what you mean, actually. It's interesting that I didn't look at that at all, and I still got to get close to that. Well, if you know, before if time allows, before thank you for the suggestion. If time allows, before I have to deliver it, if I have time to make a video, I'll certainly upload it here. You know, oh, the chair creaking sounds are a bonus. I won't charge you extra for that. Okay. So, see how generous I am. Thank you now. Well, yeah, thanks for the suggestion, Shane. I would like to do a relaxing. I've been meaning to do more. Like, I think I only have one from the very beginning of my channel. If you look really, really far back on the first few videos, there's a Toby dog puppet for a Punch and Judy show. I was asked to build a much more plushy looking dog, and I quickly made a video with him, but it's basically just goofing off. It's probably not super relaxing. So I'd like to make one that's literally more relaxing. I do have a creepy lynx demon pup that I could use to make to explore a bit of the dark side of ASMR, because I have not done much of that either. So his name is Shelving. I'll give you a bit of a demo. That's a pair of cotton glove that I reversed because I only used one glove for the first customer I made it for. So I had the other glove, so might as well. And I don't mind the look, so I made the claws out of hot glue. So they look sharp, but they don't hurt anyone. I can slap someone in the face with that and not endanger their eyes. And this is a paper mache head that snaps very loudly, so I will not snap too much. He's got only one eye. The other side is hollow. Is it still inverting my camera again? Left, right, yep. I don't understand why YouTube is doing that, but on my end, at least, it is. I think it's a feature that they decided for the broadcaster. On your end, it's probably not inverted. Can you read? Can you read this properly? Because on my end, it's a mirror image. Okay, so for some reason they inverted at my place. I don't understand why. I can actually, if I reverse it, if I mirror it on my end, oh, I can't. It won't let me, even with my actual menu for some reason. But it's locked. I guess YouTube took control of it and prevent me from doing that for some unexplained and bullshitty reason. But anyways, I did not tell the computer or the webcam to reverse the image at all, so that you see the stuff properly. It's just a bit complicated for me to invert in my head. I'm not trained for that. A TV puppeteer would do this without any problem because they have to. They have the experience. But this guy could tell a whole story and create pretty interesting sounds. Anyways, I don't want to change my whole setup to show you this, but I have a few puppets here, mostly prototypes, tests that I kept. My finished puppets, I don't keep most of them because that's how I make a living, so mostly they leave here. Let's go back to the sculpting. Don't know why the camera's so close all of a sudden. Can you hear the purring in the back? He's still there. Still going at it. So would you appreciate a video of a cat? I can't even bring it closer. The microphone is just tangled right now. The cable are. But a whole video of just cats purring for as long as they want to stick around. Oh, don't bite me, please. Thank you for not hurting me. He's the gentlest of the two. What the heck happened? I just lost my visual. There you go. He's the gentlest of the two. Like, he will not bite me. Like if he notices that he's about to bite me, he's gonna stop himself, which is pretty cool. His brother is a little bit more savage when we play, but he's also making sure that I don't get bitten, which is kind of strange because I've always had cats that like to play rough, which was also fun, of course. These guys are really attentionate, conscientious, I would say. So I should probably focus visually a bit more on the back, for the symmetry has not been resolved yet. It's getting close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but should I draw a line, I would probably notice that things are not as straight as they could be. I should have a straight edge for this. This ruler is not perfect. It's too flexible for that, but I manage. So I press a line into it, just at the wherever it can reach. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'll start from this. I should actually have started from the front to see, because what matters is really the face. Everything else should follow the face. If I had not modified my laser pointer to become a cat toy, I could probably have used it for drawing a straight line down the face without having to bother with this. But I did not need the laser at the time, so I modified it. I removed one of the two lasers, and I removed the filter glass thingy to prevent it from doing a grid and Now it just does a dot, which is what I wanted. And there's only one spot now, one laser, so that we don't waste too much battery. The cats are crazy about it. And maybe I can go a month before I have to recharge it. I don't use it all the time, but I can go for a long time with, per play sessions, and I don't have to worry about it. When it gets a bit weak, I just recharge it for maybe 2 hours. So that was from my bandsaw. It was to aim your cuts on the drill press, actually. So it is pretty straight. It's not like perfect or anything, but it's as good as it needs to be. Let's see if it aligns from front to back. See how much of a deviation we have. There's always one. Close one eye, align it with your tool. There's a winding stick method that I don't understand yet, but there's a method that you can use with sticks of wood. See if things are aligned and smooth. But it's an old woodworker's, method. This is fine for the top. Now for the whole back. Yep, I definitely got some arranging to do. Now don't be afraid to ask questions if you have any, or start a topic. It won't disturb my work. I'm used to it. So this spike is higher than this spike, which is not a huge problem. I have to decide which side is best. Do I bring that one up or lower this one? I like this side a lot. I also like this side. Let's choose this one as a model and bring it down. Bring the other side down. You're 27. I didn't know it. I had been broadcasting for so long. You're old. I'm 40 years old. I'm old. Yes, it's going to be a rubber latex puppet, as the title mentions. People don't read nowadays. I include myself in that statement. Recently, somebody was not answering my question. I kept asking, like, come on, I need my answer so I can get a schedule. She was like, I mentioned the dates in a previous message. I'm like, I did read the whole message. And she was like, well, and sure enough, I had completely skipped part of it. Even though I usually make an effort to pay attention, I'm not perfect. So why can't I be perfect? Why? Because I'm a human being. Humans are not perfect. Maybe that's our greatest strength. Maybe that's how we learn. I have this theory that we might be hardwired, whether it's intelligent design or evolution or DNA manipulators from the future or something, but it seems that we tend to complicate things when we don't need to. Like the brain might go, oh, that's too simple. Let's just complicate things right now, because it can't be that simple a solution. We have to try something more complex so that we'll make mistakes and learn more in the process if we pay attention. If we don't, then we just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Exactly, yeah. Although the frustrated part of me says or hopes that, that there's easier and more efficient ways of learning than learning from doing all the mistakes. You always make mistakes, so might as well reserve, decide what kind of mistake you're going to make and start from an approach that's already tried and tested. Start from solid foundations, get some training, ask an expert, do something like that. And once you learn rules that actually work, steps and such, then you can actually improvise because you know what rules exist and where you can stretch things out. Like they say, learn the rules so you can bend them. I believe in that. It makes sense to me. But you're right. If we knew everything, there wouldn't be that sense of discovery, or even that pride of, oh, I figured it out. All I do today is because I learned it. I didn't go to school or get some specific training for it. I didn't have a gift. I'm not any kind of prodigy for anything. So I was really bad at sculpting when I first started, and I just got better because my one big advantage is I'm really, really stubborn. Every flaw has a flip side, I guess. So I'm determined would be the positive side of it. And I'm freaking stubborn, which is the negative end of it. If we can combine the two, or at least focus on the right one at the right time, we can use that to our advantage. Now here's a trick that I have not used in a while, and I probably should. You can and should try once in a while when you're sculpting. Use a single light source and center it on your work. That might be difficult here because of how my studio is set up, but I'll try at least. Relatively. This is close enough. So I align it to the center. Right now I'm at an angle, but best I can do. And it helps me see little problems, little areas that need to be changed, that are not even on both sides. I saw that trick. It called for a single light bulb, but I don't like it because it gets into my eyes and it hurts me. So I prefer something behind my head. Most of the time, slightly above, but you have to change it once in a while. Like change your lights, especially if you're going to do a final smoothing. You want to make sure everything is really nice. You look at it from different angles with different light sources, different areas. From upside down, from left to right, right to left, from well underneath, from well above. Stand on a step ladder if you have to. It's quite efficient. I think I made you all fall asleep, actually. Are you still here? Do I still have people to talk to? Okay. Yes, a few scales, not the whole thing. It's not going to be fully covered because that's a bit insane. Hey, Kiza, by the way, I just want to make sure I have the right person in my head. You recently joined the Lowish digital art group, right? That was you, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Have you gotten her book yet? Have you gotten the Lowish's book yet? The sketchbooks of Lowish, I mean. You have not yet. Do you mean you have not received it, or you have not ordered it? You want to. Okay, so you have not ordered it yet. Would you like it for free? Because I made the mistake, I ordered 2 instead of 1. And I'm looking for someone that would actually use it. I don't want to just give a book away to someone who's going to forget about it. So if you're an artist like I am and you obviously want to be an illustrator, so good. If you only pay for shipping, I can send it to you. And it shouldn't be too expensive. I mean, probably still have the original box, but I would actually make it a bit better packaged because, yeah, I do have the original box. So you know how to reach me by email? you just have to send me your address, and I'll tell you how much shipping will cost, and then you can send me a PayPal or something just for the shipping. The book itself will be free, so that at least it doesn't go to waste. I don't know anyone here locally that is into digital illustration enough to justify giving it to them, because I like to, transfer the stuff to people who will use them. No, exactly. I've been looking. I've actually offered it to someone I know, and he was like, I'm not sure I'm going to use it. So if you find someone else, go for it, because he's not really an illustrator. Like, he uses drawing once in a while for his work as a puppeteer, but he doesn't really create stuff from scratch, especially not really fully digital stuff. Although right now he's doing a backdrop, and that's for his puppet show. So he told me to find someone else. So I'm like, sure. I was thinking about you because you're on the same group. So I was like, hey, why not? So my email for that would be creaturist@gmail.com. If you're motivated, you'll send it right now. Like, people tell me, yeah, I'll send you an email, and they don't, and I just forget. I was like, that's it. They're not interested. So if you are, I would just, send me your address at creaturiste@gmail.com, and I will look into how much it will cost for shipping and get back to you on that in a day or two. That way, it goes to someone who will actually use it. It's just against my principles to just leave a book somewhere and nobody uses it. It's just so many resources were spent in making and shipping it that it shouldn't go unused. It would be a shame. You're welcome. So this is my dragon, looking pretty nice, and I do say so myself. Now that line I just drew is a little bit strong. Let me try to add the one on the top of the snout, because I'm not even sure. The top of the snout is relatively straight. Yeah. It's close enough. Really, World of Sand, I was expecting to have more feedback on that one, and I didn't. I thought it was one of my best, but it hasn't brought as much, at least not in communications, like comments and such. It hasn't been as popular as I thought it would be. So I didn't know if people liked it or not. So you're telling me that, is reassuring. So I've been collecting onion skins. So my next one that's, trigger intensive would be probably onion skins on a surface of some sort, with possibly a visit from the cats, because I intend to do it on the bed. So the bed is their playground and a napping spot, one of their many napping spots in here. So expect some cats to show up if I start crinkling some onion skins for a while. I have a big bag of onion skins now. I use a lot of onions in my cooking, so the few months of gathering skins is gonna crinkle. Awesome. Like, I just have a tray on the fridge, on top of the fridge where they dry, and then I put them in a plastic bag so they don't get lost. But yeah, after that I might even use them for dyeing fabric or something. You can make a really nice deep yellow orange or orange yellow with onion skins. I've never tried, but I've seen articles about it, so I'm intrigued. This one I had almost full freedom because I had to deal with the customer. I said, well, you're not buying exclusive rights on this one puppet, so I have to like it too. So they gave me characteristics. They gave me personality traits that I needed to integrate. They gave me a description of what the character does. And I had to make sure that the sculpture was not going to be too specific to their character in their show, because I wanted to be comfortable selling copies later. So originally I was thinking of making it look like it's made of candy and cupcakes, because he's the cupcake dragon in their show. But then I realized if I do that, I'm using their idea, not mine, first of all, which, it's their idea. I don't want to make a profit from that unless I'm doing it for them. And secondly, I wanted something that was more generic so that more people could buy it for different projects. So a friendly looking dragon is fine. And if they want it to be frowny, I can add eyebrows with another material, or I don't know. Well, that's the only way really, because unless they paid me extra so I could make a new model of it with a different shape. But you can totally change the expression with a bit more of maybe a bit of synthetic fur or something like that. Like, he's a bit more mean. When I first sculpted him, he had the whole brow brought down over the eyes. Like a third of the eye was covered. It was really menacing. Same face, it's just the eyes were different. And they told me, well, he is a bit too menacing, so oops, if you care to make him a little bit more friendly. So I went all the way friendly instead, and they love it. So I love working for them. They bring me good stuff. I was thanking them recently on an update video. I use the same setup as this to send updates to my customers. So I send them a dragon update, and I told them, by the way, I want to thank you for bringing me all these jobs, because you're giving me jobs that I would build for myself. So I get to have all the fun I need to keep going. So thank you for that. And they were like, well, we love your work, so it's a win-win. That's usually that's a good ego feeding comment. I try to keep my ego balanced, not too big, not too small, just right. So on this guy I had full freedom. Basically they had some input, of course, but it had to fit their show, but it also had to fit my needs. So here you go. He's there, like, he just needs detailing and smoothing and he'll be done. So, well, you need to make a mold, and that's still a lot of work. But in terms of design, he's pretty much what he needs to be. He just needs some detailing. The membrane between the two jaws that I'm basing on an actual reptile. I have a taxidermied baby crocodile or alligator here. I forgot to look it up to find out which one it was, but my father sent that to me years ago as a strange gift. Didn't know what to do with it myself, but I kept it, why not? Could be a reference someday, and sure enough, it became one. Years and years later. So I have a good in-person reference object to have some reptile shapes. Like, this started as the whole type of cheek that creature has, but it was too harsh, so I started filling that gap here. And I'm not sure I want to fully fill it, but I like a bit of cast shadow there. Makes him look a bit emaciated. I don't know if I should. Well, I do like several levels. I like the highlights that it will create. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know what? Let's test it out right now. See what it looks like. One side of it. Mine is that gap. See if it certainly makes him look younger. When I do this, it's no risk, because I always have the other side as a reference. Good night, David. Sweep well. Thank you, Wub Wub. That's a cool name, Wub Wub. I think it has ASMR trigger potential. I'm hesitating between the two. you know, the cutout really adds some definition and interest, but the filled out look, well, in case of hesitation, try a hybrid, you know. It depends on the puppet, it depends on whatever it is and how much work it is to make a copy. So this guy, for example, is going to be a rubber latex puppet. Every copy will probably take a week to make. So for that reason, it can't be cheap at all. It has to be fairly compensated for. So I'm still determining how much, you know, what the price would be. I know what the original cost has been because I've been hired to build one puppet for a company and it had to fit with their show. I'm gonna just fill it a little bit. But after that, I have rights to sell as many copies as I want because it's my character. It's my design, my intellectual property. So because of copies, I was able to not charge them as much as I could have if I had to destroy the mold and keep it a one of a kind, you know? Heck, for their sake, I better not destroy the mold because latex puppets don't last as long as paper mache ones. Paper mache is my specialty, but latex can look a lot better. And it's very flexible and expressive, so that's an advantage you don't want to neglect. But this is going to be, each copy is probably going to be a bit less than $1,000 US because it's still a lot of work. You know, I have to make a copy, clean it up, patch it up, cut it out. Do that all very quickly because you have to paint it as soon as you possibly can after it's cast so that the new paint, which is also made of rubber, the same rubber, will be able to fuse properly. They do the same thing with silicone. It's even more important with the silicone to do that than with latex, but it's also a criteria that really helps with, you know, the paint being part of the puppet instead of just lying on top. So in the past, I used different methods to paint the latex, but I researched and I was recommended by someone who knows better, someone who specializes in latex puppets, that it's wiser to paint straight with the latex. They have a special formula that they use, which of course is their recipe and it's a secret. It's a trade secret. But he was kind enough to let me know that obviously I could use real latex, the same one that I use for casting the same puppet, as long as I clean the cast really well with soap and water and rinse it really well and do it as early as possible, and I'm ensured that the paint will stick better. And I did test that on a recent batch of frog puppets that I made, and sure enough, it's a very strong and sturdy finish. I love it. It's a bit more difficult to do blending of colors, but with my painting style, I don't need to blend that much, so it's not too big of a deal. I can adapt my methods. In fact, I can actually create texture with the paint, which helps me hide some defects if I need to. Ooh, that's way too hot. Don't touch that with your fingers. We need to get the spatula. Spatula. You know spatula? The cheesiest of vampires. I don't even know if that even exists, but I like the idea. Yeah, this is a synthetic clay. Like it's got real clay in it, I'm sure, but it's a professional grade plasticine or plastaline. It's called monster clay. It is mostly made of wax, oil, and clay, like actual clay powder. I should probably turn on the secondary light now. I don't need the symmetry anymore. Much better. Yeah, plastalina. Well, there's different ways of spelling it depending on the language, of course, but plastalina, plastilina, you know. Thank you, Anina. I am feeling pretty good. I have a slight tummy ache because I had too much ice cream earlier, but that's the price you pay. Besides that, I'm doing good. Excuse me. Are you doing good? Are you dreaming right now? Am I even real? So, whoa, I just noticed one eye might be a little bit off towards the side. Aiming. So once I've evened out all the shapes, oh, this spike is a little bit different than this spike. Which one do I prefer? If I step back a bit, it usually helps me judge. 3D printing. No, I have not. I have dabbled a little bit in 3D modeling, however. I really loved Sculptress, but they stopped developing it even before I started using it. So the software was so full of glitches, I could not even render any of my models. It just crashed too much. So I started taking screen captures to share with a potential customer what I had done. Never amounted to anything really, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sculpting with it. It's not as good or as satisfying as working with real clay because there are some reactions that are nonsensical to me. There are things that should be easier to do and they haven't figured it out yet. At least not in Sculptress. I tried ZBrush a little bit, but I got too frustrated that I could not even find the regular sculpting interface. Like I had to go through so many lessons before they would even show us where it was. So I got patient enough to learn a little bit about what they called Z tubes or Z structures. Forget what it was. A tubular kind of system to create an armature quickly or a basic shape. That's all I was able to manage on Sculptress before I gave up. Because it's not really a priority for me right now. I see the potential, but currently it's a financial problem. I don't have time enough because I have so many work to do, so many works to complete before studying anything new. Because I have to pay the bills and everything. So, and I could not even afford normally access to a 3D printer, let alone buying one. That would enable me to print something this big. It does exist, but it's super expensive to hire out so far. And of course the machines are not affordable so for that scale. So for tiny things, I would do that. Of course I would do small models and sell them for extra money eventually. But for things this scale, and my average is half that size. But when I do a hand puppet, this one is going to be a rubber dragon, so it has to be bigger. Thank you now. I wish you inspiration and proper rest. Oh, yes, I'm not complaining that I have work. It's just that I would like to be able to afford to take an actual vacation someday. I never did. I took some breaks because I had to, like for health reasons, but I've never actually taken an actual vacation in my life. Well, in my adult life, I should say. I've been on vacation when I was a kid, but always local. I'd like to travel a bit more. I'd like to go see what it's like in those countries where they have no winter. I'd like to train with some masters of some techniques that I want to learn properly. And that is also part of work, but to me that's relaxing, so I would do that totally. But it's just that as an artist, as a freelance artist, I'm always racing to get the bills paid. And it's reassuring that I usually have enough work to keep me going, financially speaking, but I have no savings. I don't have any insurance. I don't have anything like that. No securities. So if I get sick, and I have been sick recently, nothing comes in. So that's not good. So eventually, a little bit of I don't know, a more steady stream of jobs that pay better would be quite appreciated. In the meantime, I'm still grateful for being able to do what I love for a living. It's just, it could be better. It could always be better. Have a good night, Shane Sparrow. Thank you very much. Martial arts. No, I don't do that. I have not ever. Well, I've dabbled a little bit when I was younger. For some reason, I joined the Army Cadets for one season just to try it, and they had some martial arts taekwondo instructor show up once in a while to give us some moves, and I learned one move. I still have it in my head. It was how to flip someone over your shoulder when they're attacking you from behind. I actually had to use it once in elementary school, which is strange because I learned it more in high school, so it's like a time travel thing. Not really. My mother had learned that same move and taught it to us when we were kids, so I just had a refresher when I was in high school. Anyways, so that was my only really personal experience with martial arts. Well, actually, I had two. I was beaten up by a guy who did karate when I was a younger kid. He shouldn't have. That's against the rules, but he was a bully. So what are you gonna do? So I had some personal, experience with martial arts on the receiving end, and later on, as a self-defense thing, I got to use it against a friend. He didn't know he was actually hurting me. We were waiting for the time to get back inside the school at recess. We were waiting in line, and he started pretending to choke me, but he actually was choking me. He was pressing against my Adam's apple really hard. He didn't know his own strength, I'm guessing. And I was actually gonna faint. So the only thing I could do was, because I couldn't speak, he was blocking my airwaves too much. So I actually flipped him over my shoulder, and he landed on the asphalt on a rock. His head got a rock embedded in it, a tiny one, a tiny, a sharp little stone. And he didn't notice at first. We were just in line. He was like, "Why'd you do that?" I'm like, "Well, you were choking me, so I tried to defend myself, and I hope you're okay." And, "Oh my God, you have blood down your neck." And he was like, "Oh," and then he fainted. I didn't know he was sensitive to the sight of his own blood, but poor guy. I mean, he didn't know what he was doing. But hey, I could have gotten a lot worse. Who trying to kiss? What? I don't understand what you mean. Okay. That tooth is in the way. I'm going to remove it. Hello, Superbia. Who's trying to guess who? I don't know what you mean. Where am I from? I am from a planet called Caramel in the constellation of vanilla ice cream. I think. I'm not sure. I should probably check my papers. Sometimes I forget. Oh, you mean where I am now? I am in Montreal, in Canada. It is past 4 o'clock. Right now it's 4:43. I should probably be in bed, but I don't feel like it, so you can't stop me anyways. Canada. The only other place I've seen people call it that was on a podcast that I like to watch, listen to, called Real Ghost Stories Online. And they can be found here on YouTube, which is where I listen to the free episodes. And I'm also one of their EPPs, which means extra podcast person. So I pay $5 a month and I get an extra episode that's exclusive to the supporters. And Tony Broski, the co-host, says that about Canada. He actually says that about me in Canada because I sent them one of my stories, which some of you might have heard on this channel because it's the same one. Hello, New Brunswick. I'm a night bird mostly. I'm a half night bird, I would say. Probably a bit more night than day. But I live in both. Today I have to actually lose a bit of sleep so that I can go shopping for clothes when they're actually open. So yeah. Gnomes. I'm a gnome. At least in names. What's so fascinating about gnomes for you specifically? I like the word. It sounds good. I like some of the stories from Europe. Dungeons and Dragons. Hmm? You have a gnome from Dungeons and Dragons? Is it? Like what? Is it a figure? Is it your character? Yeah, partially. If you're already following artists online, then you notice that. A lot of people at large still don't get that. They don't understand how much work it takes to create something new, something fresh, something original, or even something copied for that matter. But I prefer the original stuff, of course. People don't know. So I've been doing this show for a while, and some people do mention eventually, like, oh my God, you've been working for so long on this piece. When will you move on? I'm like, when it's done. And I go, they go, okay. Some of them actually understand eventually. Like, I had never known before how much work was required to create a puppet or a mask or anything really. I could be making such, much easier things to make a living. Like, I could make those super cute, tiny figurines and maybe this big, make a simple shape, make simple molds, and just keep selling those online. And I'd probably have it made. But what I love to make is not always what people want in terms of, the price range is a bit higher than what people expect. And I can't compete with the products that are mass produced. So I have to find a specific range of customers that are quite varied, in fact, but they have to be both willing and able to pay for my prices. A tiefling. Oh, cool. Wait, a tiefling. Fairy and dragon mix. Maybe a bit of feline in there. I saw that from a Tony DiTerlizzi illustration on his Facebook page. A really nice looking classical portrait of a tiefling lady and her cat. Or her cat-like creature. I forget what that was called. Thank you, Tristan. And hello. Oh, I know what Dungeons and Dragons is. I was asking what you meant. What you want is what you make, which is not always what they want you to make. But the question is, do they make you want to make something when they want you to make something? Yes, mostly. I'm lucky that way. Over the years, I've developed relationships with customers who hire me repeatedly Sometimes it takes years for them to hire me again. Sometimes some of them hire me more frequently. But in both cases, mostly I get to build things I enjoy building. Sometimes I have to make some sacrifices in terms of how complex I wish I could make it, but how much money they have means I will have to limit the detail levels. I could spend an extra week on that guy and cover him in scales. I've done it before. I have a dragon model that has hundreds of scales, but it's just too complex for what they need, and they could not afford me to do that at the time. So at this time, so what I'm doing is this much simpler face with a few groupings of scales here and there to simulate that he has a lot, and that way I can match him to different kinds of fabrics depending on what's available seasonally, because fabric stores don't always carry the same stuff all the time. So I have to keep that in mind as well. So if it was way too textured, it would be too specific, and then trying to find a matching fabric would be a nightmare. Lawful good, okay. So you like being different. I like that. Are you a sculptor full time? I'm a mask maker. That's how I make a living. I'm also a teacher of those techniques, should people need them. These days, I'm actually teaching a community group some techniques to build some giant puppets. Oh shoot, I forgot my torch. You don't want to leave that on if you don't need it. So let's use it for now and blend what I just applied. Yeah, so mostly I do sculpting, and of course I use. Hey, dude, that was my cat. I use the same painting skills that I would do on canvas. I do that on the clay, on the paper mache or the resin or whatever material I'm using at the time. So yes, I'm a painter. I have to be. Plus, I want to be more of an illustrator over time. I'd like to do more illustration. What do you want? You want me to pay attention to you? Of course you get my attention. My cat is demanding I rub his belly. One of the two. The other one is AWOL, as usual. Show him the world to the world. I will try. He will hate it. He doesn't like to be picked up or held. But I'm trying to make him used to that. Oh, I can do better. I can show you pictures. Oh shit, I can't. Not on this interface. I was going to show you my desktop, but I can't. Not yet. I'm getting used to the YouTube interface and how to use OBS with it. That was my stomach. Okay. Maybe I can shift the lights a tiny bit for a moment to show you. Since this is a live feed anyways. So this is Pencil. He looks black right now because of the lights, but he's actually gray and white. Is that better? Oh, you want to get in my lap? That's a novelty. I know you don't usually, but try. Come on. That's awesome. Maybe he's gonna go on the table. He was the first one of the two cats to show up on my lap for a first petting, but now he doesn't usually come to my lap. His brother is a lap cat, so this guy is not. He's actually just farted in my face. That was not cool, buddy. So they don't attack my work, thankfully. So they've been super respectful ever since I adopted them. And they're kittens. They're very unruly, but for some reason, they respect my work. So that's awesome. They don't even wake me up in the morning for food or anything. They wait until I'm up, and my schedule changes all the time. And now he's a table kitty. See, he's contrary. Cats are, in my opinion, usually contrary. They like to go against, whether it's an instinct or a will, they try to go against expectation, like someone was saying earlier. Maybe they're part demon. So that was pencil. His brother is about the same pattern, but instead of gray and white, he's black and white. And I think he's got ASMR. Both these cats love the crinkly papers. So I put some craft paper on the bed, and they dig in there, they sleep on it, they play, they squish each other. It's pretty cool. They certainly make life interesting. So yes, to finish answering the question, I am a full-time sculptor and painter because I have to be, and eventually, because you have to give them color when their final material is out of the mold. I don't always do molds. Like for the same company, I'm soon going to start some glove puppets that will be directly sculpted in paper mache. Thank you. I'll get to that in a day or two. I just have to check with the Canada Post website and see how much the shipping will cost. I'll send you the amount, and you can PayPal me that, and I'll package it and send it to you. Thank you for allowing me to, unburden myself of this extra piece of something I don't use. It doesn't make sense for me to have two copies. I just made a mistake when I ordered. I did a second attempt and I forgot to check the number on the, what's it called, the shopping bag. You're welcome. I could have just sold it online, but I'm like, I don't want to bother with that. I'm lazy that way. Oh no. You have someone at home that can still take care of them the same as you would. Like I decided when I adopted, despite my previous vow till I was living with someone else, like either a relationship or a room, so that there would always be someone home if I ever have to go out for a job. But I decided I don't travel anymore that much anyways. If that happens, I'll face the situation, but maybe I'll have a relationship next time I have to travel for more than a day, so we'll see. But these guys really changed my life, and for the better, so yep. They make me laugh all the time. They keep me on my toes. I have to keep working because I need to feed them and myself. I can skip meals, but they don't want to. So there you go. It's not just that, but it's a whole bunch of things that makes me more responsible. Today I was actually washing a bit of dishes and I was singing as I was doing it, which hasn't happened in a while in terms of singing while I do it. So that's a good sign. You better put it to good use. You better be as good as Loish in 6 months. I'll give you 6 months, and you have to be better than Loish. Hey, take it as you want. You do it or not. It's just a challenge. There you go. Like you might have noticed on the site today, some lady posted. Was it today or yesterday? Yesterday, I think. She was posting a picture of some kind of angel, and she was asking for advice on the outfit, and I was like, I double dare you to do an embossed reptilian pattern on that leotard. And she was like, I guess I can try. A good answer. I can't wait to have a bit more time to spend on the illustration so I can share some of my stuff on that site, on that group. Both will be here. Okay, good. Oh, wow. Yes, I can understand that. I miss my cats if I'm out for a bit. Like if I'm out for a few hours, I'm like, I need to go home and play with my cats. This has been fun, but I need to go home and play with my cats. They're okay though. I got 2 of them for that reason. I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't leave an animal alone when I'm gone for a few hours, Yeah, there you go. Plus with today's technology, I don't know if your cats pay attention to screens, but you might be able to do a Skype call or something to catch up with the cats. You can't touch them, of course, but someone can pet them for you. They can hear your voice and see your face. Last time I had a cat, I had to hire a colleague of mine to come over and spend a bit of time with the cats every day. I couldn't afford to pay her, so I promised her a puppet. I built her one of my most expensive puppets. I was desperate to find someone to take care of them when I was gone for a week. So, of course, it ended up when when I told that to my mom, she was like, "Do you realize that you just ended up paying her the equivalent of $100 a day?" I was like, "Oops." A really good bargain out of the deal. But hey, my cat was fed every day, and she took care of the litter and stuff. So miniature sculpting videos. Cool. Does he actually pay attention, or does he just like to spend time with you? Because some cats are really into the videos. Like mine don't seem to be like. When I first got them, I used the sounds of videos to coax them out of their hiding places. Like I would have a mother cat call out to her kittens when I was desperate to get them out because sometimes I didn't know where they were. Very good at hiding, these two, especially Ink. He got into dangerous spots actually. So, anyways, but eventually they got used to it and they don't really pay attention to videos now. At least not that I've seen. Like if if it's the afternoon and I'm leaving to get some food for them or something, I leave them a YouTube video of a few hours of bird watching and stuff like that. Have you seen the work of Paul Dinning? He's in the UK, I think. It's beautiful videos, like super high quality visual and sound. Very relaxing. I'd watch them for myself, actually. If you want to find his videos, it's easy. You just search um, for cats or videos for cats. You probably find him as the first results because he's that good. He's got 8-hour videos. He's got 1-hour videos. He's got so many. But my cats don't seem to, when I put them on, they're not in front of the screen. When I get back, they're not in front of the screen. But I still bother because, it's a bit of an atmosphere, especially in the winter when we don't really have birds around here that they can really hear because the windows are closed. But now that it's the summertime, they hang out in the windows more often. So I don't think I'll need to use their videos that much. Plus, when I leave, usually I like to shut down the computer. So. But yeah, Paul Dinning's videos are pretty cool. There are others who try to make videos for cats, but they get too complex for no reason. They do like little animations. I'm like, nah. If this was an iPad that I would leave them to play with, sure. But with my computer desktop, they would just topple the screen down. So not happening. I prefer to see real birds and squirrels and stuff. I think they do too. Are you still lit? Nope. Looking good, buddy. The hurricane shutter is open. Ah. I hope they're playful too. Like cats should be playful. If they're not playful, it's weird to me. Like it might be on their deathbed or something. Mine sleep a lot. Still relatively kittens. Like they're 6 months old or something. I need to look at the date again, but they're not full adults yet. So I was told it's normal that they sleep so much, but when they're up, they're up. Like they usually start chasing each other and wrestling after I've played with them. Like I kind of have to start them up. It's weird. It's a weird process. But they're siblings. They do their own thing, and eventually they start chasing each other. But both, sometimes they hang out together. They recently started sleeping next to each other, which is pretty cute. They don't usually do that. You haven't. I don't know. I'm probably done soon. I just want to finish blending what I've just applied. Maybe I'll do some drawing for reminding me where I need to be next time. But probably less than an hour. They're angry at each other. I have to watch it though. I don't want to make any jealous, so either of them jealous. So I try to pay equal attention to both when they're both in the room. It's hard because ink is super affectionate and a lap cat, while pencil is a lot more aloof. I don't want to say aloof. I want to say more independent and chill. Like he wants me to pet him, but mostly not on my lap, just on the bed, on his own terms. Eventually, he decides to walk out. Like he's always the first. He's usually the first to walk out. I don't want to say always, but usually, like we're playing, all three of us, and he just zooms away. I'm like, okay, had enough play for now. Ink will stop playing when I stop playing. Like he's really into it. It's funny, it's like one cat that's been split in two, not only with colors, but also with personality. And then some got jumbled in the mix. Like the coolest, most chill version of him, like Pencil is the chill one. He doesn't know his strengths, or he used to, and now he's fine. But when I first got them and I first was able to play with them, because it took them a while to warm up to me, he could not control where his claws were, so I had to start wearing shoes if I was playing with them on my bed, because they like to play with my foot. And Ink, the most aggressive of the two, would never hurt me, but Pencil would tend to claw through my socks and hurt me, so I had to wear shoes. I haven't done that in a while. Maybe I should try now, but it seems that Pencil has gained the control now. He doesn't hurt me at all now, but you 3 legs. Ooh, okay. Tiberius. Oh, it's okay. I like talking about my cats, and I like hearing about other people's cats, so it's a win-win. Plus, not many other people are talking, so take your space, people. If you want to say something, just go for it. Yeah, Tiberius reminds me of if you were there earlier when I showed the demon puppet based on a lynx skull, which I forgot to mention earlier. His original copy, the first one I made for a customer, was named Tibbles. So Tiberius might be the full name of Tibbles. Although the full name of Tibbles was Tibbles the Apocalypse Cat. Not my idea. It was my customer's idea. And I had to make a copy for myself because I like that thing so much. So my version is called Shelving Emily Rubius Summer Thing. He's very pompous. And he has a French accent, just to differentiate him from the original, who had a British accent. A kid from Degrassi. I don't remember Degrassi that much. Today I saw a quick video of, I don't know why I was watching that, but I ended up watching an interview with Chris Hemsworth, the guy who plays Thor. And they were showing clips of his earlier career, and they were like, well, before the Thor stuff, he played in the new Star Trek movies. Well, the first of the new ones, I think. he played Kirk's father, like for a brief moment, and the his mother was giving birth or something, or talking about giving birth, I forget. And she was like, "I'll name him like your father," and he's like, "You can't name him Tiberius, you know. Please call him Jim." As he's dying, like as he's about to explode, he says that to her. Hello, corn cack. I don't even remember that part from the movie. I'm not a fan of the new Star Trek movies for some reason. They're a cool ride, but they don't respect the original material enough, in my opinion. Not that I was even Trekker. Sorry, Trekkie. I'm more of a Trekker. I think that's the difference. I'm into Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, stuff like that. I kind of like Voyager as well, but I was never really into the originals. But I still like the some of the original characters like Spock and Bones. I've never been a big fan of Shatner's character. Too pompous for me, but whatever. That's part of his character. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you for showing up. Oh yeah, the characters were fine. It's just that the stories were like, what? The first one, they just rehashed some stories from the original movies, and they just revamped them a little bit. They even contradicted themselves a little bit. Like they switched some characters around, like that scene from one of the first original movies where Spock is dying for the first time and Bones is there, and they did the same freaking thing in the first new Star Trek movie, but they switched to another character. I forget which one. That pissed me off. I was like, why would you even do that? Like they did that with Star Wars. I think it's the same director actually. I'm not sure, but I think it was J.J. Abrams in both cases. Am I right? Um, they just instead of trying to do something new, they went the safe way, which is the coward's way, I think. When they have so many resources and people working with them, they could have done something completely new that still fits in that universe, but instead they decided to do a reboot. And even that decision, they could have done something else. But if you're going to do a reboot, try to be original. Try to bring out new stories, new possibilities. Don't just recycle what you've done before, what they've done before. You can do your own thing. Like, they did the same freaking thing for the new Star Wars movies. Like the first one, forget the name of it, but, the first new one, again with J.J. Abrams, it felt like a Star Wars movie. No wonder it felt like a Star Wars movie because they used the same fucking, and yes, I will swear, the same fucking plot lines as they did for the original trilogy. They, even the new characters were totally and undeniably based on previous ones. Like you always have a Han Solo character, you have a Leia character, you have a Luke, character. Even though they did bring back the originals, most of them, they still had the new versions by naming them differently. But even that really cool alien lady that basically does the job of Yoda while being a bit more funny and friendlier, she's still a Yoda character. Like make something new. They did that with Rogue One. They tried to explore the foundation of the story and stuff, and to justify that like the biggest mistake in movie history. Like how come they made such a vulnerable, you know, giant killing machine? You know, what a way to make a movie. I thought that was funny, but as an observation. But they did more new stuff in that one than they did in the first one, so that was cool. And then when they came back with the Last Jedi, I think they became a lot more original. It felt a lot more like its own thing. I still felt like they were again recycling the same stuff, but not as much. Like they did a trench scene again in the Last Jedi. I'm like, can you just get over the trench already? You keep doing it. Every single movie has a trench scene. Why? Find another obstacle to, show your skills. It's like, come on. You're a terrible nerd. we'll have to revoke your nerd card. A brand new story, but never actually watched it. Oh, yeah. The thing is, you get around to it if you want to. It's like nobody's gonna force you, and they shouldn't. Even if they try, you should basically tell them off. It's like, no. Back in the mail, yeah. Okay, this dude started to look pretty sharp, so let's start working on those cheek cartilage areas. Before I go to bed, I'd like some definition there. I would also like to add some holes in the ears. So let's start with the holes first before I forget. Just to simulate an ear canal. I'm not an acoustic anatomy person, so I'm not sure my ears make any sense, but they look cool. That's all I care about at this point. So that with the paint, I can make them look even deeper than they are. I just have to have a foundation of sculpted shape to justify my paint, or so that the paint can enhance it. And I don't want to, I could totally do something much simpler than this and just use paint to simulate depth. But to me, that's fake. To me, there's something missing. So in my work, I usually would go for sculpting first, how it catches the light and creates shadows. And then with the paint, I make things come alive. I pop things out. Pop goes the world. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's just it. That's a revelation right there. I just had a moment of brilliance. A brilliant idea. I don't claim it. It just happens. I just receive them. I don't make them up. It just happens. I'm an antenna for ideas. The song "Pop Goes the World" is completely ASMR. If you think about it, I don't remember the lyrics except for "Pop Goes the World," but pop goes the world. Like the song, the way they sing, that beat, it could totally be done in ASMR, like a binaural singing on both sides. That's what the first collaboration should be. On my last attempt at doing this show, 2 days ago, 3 now, somebody showed up who has been in the business for much longer than me. And she was like, hey, if you do want to do a collaboration with me, I'm like, sure I do. Send me an email. I have not received her email. So that tells me that maybe she's not motivated, or maybe she's been busy. I don't know. But somebody, if I get to find somebody who's both willing and available to do a collab, someone with the equipment, of course, so that we both have quality results, that would be super cool. Like a song, or a soft spoken song version of something. But pop goes the world. Another idea I had, and I encourage people to try that, if you're an ASMR video maker yourself or want to become one, use those ideas. I mean, when I have an idea, I don't want to own it, unless it's a design, of course. But if I have an idea of doing something, I'm glad to see other people do it. So I'll see how they did it, and I'll have to do it differently. So that's cool. That's motivating. Anyways, here's an idea I had a while ago that I've never really pushed forward yet, but it's in the plan. I've written it down and stuff. Darker characters singing darker lullabies, like the theme songs for movie villains, but done as a lullaby. Some are already sound pretty much like lullabies anyways, if you think about it. There are few who deny it. What I do, I am the best. For my talents are renowned far and wide. When it comes to surprises in a moonlit night, I excel without ever even trying. That could work totally well, especially in binaural. Or I know that your powers of I know that your powers of retention are as wet as a warthog's backside. But thick as you are, pay attention. My words are a matter of pride. I've thought about doing ASMR tutorials for things like AutoCAD and maybe why not? It makes sense. You'll find some audience in that probably. Like I just noticed yesterday, I think, Pastel Cutie did a tutorial on programming software called Python. I'm not familiar with it. I didn't watch the video, but I saw it pass by in my subscription, so I think that's a good idea. Like, teach something to people. Why not? I might do that at some point. Mordred's Lullaby. Ooh, which one is that? Can you name me the singer? Because there was a song about Mordred from a metal band. Well, they're certainly partially metal, Blind Guardian. I don't even know what Python is specifically, like programming language, but is it for what is it for websites? Is it for games? Is it for anything? When I was a kid, like a teenager, we had, I'm not kidding, GW Basic, and then later Quick Basic 4.5. And that's how I learned to program, but I never did anything with it, like nothing of worth. But it was fun. There's a really cool song, and I would even call it chilly, a song from The Lord of the Rings called, I think it's called Gollum's Lament. I might be wrong about that, but I think it is. A song by Emiliana Torini. You are lost and can never go home. Something like that. Heather Dale. I don't know that one. Could you? Oh, I don't think guests can post a link in here. Can you try anyways? if you want, you don't have to. But I'll try to remember later to look it up. There's an extended version of that song. I think in the movie, in Lord of the Rings, or maybe it's The Hobbit. You can hear a little bit, and you hear more of it in the credits. But if I'm not mistaken, you have a full version available. Pretty sure I heard it on Pandora. But yeah, I think it's called Gollum's Lullaby, Gollum's Lament. Might be Lullaby. I don't know. I'm so old that I remember a time before Google. When Google first showed up, I thought, yeah, it's just another one of those search engines that I'll have to remember to use. Because before Google, I had to switch between different search engines to eventually find what I needed. So it was a bit of a bore. Like I had Alta Vista, Yahoo, Web Crawler, and another one I forget the name of. Eventually Google took over because it was so powerful. Oh well. AOL. No, I never did, thankfully. I had to send some emails to people who had AOL, and sometimes that was a bit problematic. AOL was infamous for problems. And it still exists for some reason. Ask Jeeves. Yes, I've tried it a few times, but I never got really into that one. So I've mostly done the ears. Did I get distracted a bit too much? Probably. Yeah, what do you think? Like nobody made a comment about what I was saying about dark lullabies. Do you think that makes sense? Do you think that would be interesting for specifically for ASMR purposes? Because I thought it could work. I just never really gotten around to it. Some people like the darker characters. I find them interesting, and I just don't. I don't associate with most of them. There are some that I do though, like Frankenstein's monster, for example, from the books. None of the movie versions came even close to what he should be compared to the books. They went more caricatural. They went evil or stupid, which I don't know why, because the original character is so rich and deep, and you can actually relate to him if you pay attention. You can understand the suffering that he has gone through, and you might even understand why he went dark, like why he did what he did. And you go like, it's not a justification; it's just an explanation. You know? Yeah, I've seen that, but a lot of those role plays are really negative. Like it's like I like the night, the darkness of night. I find it peaceful and quieting and stuff. So that to me is not negative. But if people are all about the darkness of, the darkness of the soul and the darkness of, dedicating yourself to evil, I don't approve of that. But things like characters like the Phantom of the Opera, for example, he's all about how he's suffering, and how he transcends that pain through music. He wants to contribute. I long to reach the world, comfort and teach the world. No one would listen, no one but her hears as the outcast hears. I can relate to that, but I never want to bring anything too dark to my channel, like someone who, you know, justifies violence or mayhem or hurting people. I'm totally against that. Mm. But yeah, if you've never read, like, this is my literary recommendation for today. If you've never read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, oh my gosh, you're in for a ride. I actually listened last time I consulted the book. I actually listened to it as an audiobook, and it was free because it was read by volunteers on the LibriVox.org website. So LibriVox is a free source for audiobooks based on the Gutenberg project. That means that they only use books that are already in the public domain in the United States to do their audiobooks. So they don't have to worry about copyright infringements or anything like that. So you can find a lot of interesting books in there. Nothing recent unless it's been donated or made up in the public domain already, but the old classics are there, a lot of them. So the the recording quality, the narration quality is not always amazing, but it's usually okay. It's usually good. For some reason, even though they're volunteers, a lot of people do a really good job at it. I hope that there's a better version of the one that I heard, because unfortunately, it wasn't always the same readers for every chapter when I listened to the Frankenstein's novel. Um, there was one particular female reader who was amazing, but she only did a few chapters, not the whole thing. So some more seasoned, I would say more experienced volunteer readers have actually tackled to read an entire book. And that I really appreciate because it gives a flavor to the book that keeps, that stays with you as you listen. You don't have to shift your mind to adapt to a new reader during the same story. So, but, you know, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is just yikes. It's hard to describe, but it's definitely a keeper in the classics. Like if I started a new civilization on another planet, if I had to choose a few books to bring, of course, nowadays with digital, you could probably bring the whole library with you. But if there was a limited number, some of the essentials would have to be, you know, one of them would be the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It teaches you stuff about, the impact of ostracizing people for being different. It also shows that the victim can become the bully, can become an oppressor as well. So it makes you think. That's how I see it. It makes you think, makes you feel, definitely. But like I said, there's been so many versions of movies and TV movies and cartoons and stuff that basically they make him into this one-dimensional monster, maybe two-dimensional at most, but it's like he's just a monster. He's either stupid or he's totally evil. He's a mastermind. I'm like, what? That whole thing about the monster being afraid of fire, like that came from the black and white movies with Boris Karloff and similar actors with the bolts in the neck and the flat-topped head. That image just stuck in people's minds, and I can see why it's grotesque and interesting, but it's not the book character at all. In the book, without trying to spoil too much, the character is actually a genius who taught himself how to read and how to speak because he had no one. Like he observed someone, teaching someone else, and he learned better than they did. And basically, he understood eventually what his origin was because he read his creators' journals because he left with them when he escaped. So that's just a little bit of information, but it's such a deep and feeling character. Could have brought a whole lot of joy to the world, but he was so hurt that he was turned, you know. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I know. Always ask yourself if you ever become a writer for television or movies or anything like that, the essential questions should come back. Like, what's the motivation of the character? What's their background story? It can't just be someone who wakes up one morning and decides, how much evil will I do today? Like, some might be insane like that, but what's the reason behind that? Like, have they been hurt? Or is there something wrong with their brain? What the fuck, motivates them to be so cruel and mean and bitter and control freaky? I want to know that. I want to learn where they come from and why. When you have a good villain, that makes your heroes all the more interesting. Heroes that are really well written have nothing if they don't have a proper matching opponent according to many sources, many theoreticians of literature. If you want other book suggestions, I'm a big fan of fantasy, obviously, and my favorite series for fantasy work, I only have a few that I would always go back to. Like recently, I've been re-listening to the audiobooks of The Dresden Files, read by James Marsters, the actor who played Spike in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's amazing. I was not even, I thought he was good, but I was not an actual fan of his until I heard The Dresden Files. I was like, whoa, that guy can read. That guy can become the character. And also, I thought he was British, but he's not. He's American, but he did such a good British accent in Buffy that he convinced everyone. Because when I first listened to the Dresden Files, I was like, how is that possible? He sounds totally American. And I was like, I had to research that eventually and found out that whole thing that he had learned his British accent from Anthony Stewart Head, who played Giles in Buffy, and he did it better than him, basically. He's used it a few times since. Like when he reads the books, he does have different accents for different characters. It's just him reading everything. He doesn't even have, other performers with him. Sometimes very rarely, they'll do an effect on his voice. Like when he does one of the fairies has a very high squeaky voice. So for one or two of the books, they actually did that to his voice. But I think they just gave up and simplified it for him later or whatever. But I thoroughly enjoyed the Dresden Files, and I'll be sad when I'm done listening to them again. each book is like, I don't know, it varies from book to book, but it's at least 8 hours of listening, so probably more like 16. But man, it's a trip. It's just definitely a trip. Longer longer books exist, of course, but he, Jim Butcher, the author, really knows how to build a world and magical systems and explanations for things. These characters, you get to love them. Like, you get to either hate or love them. Sometimes understand them if you don't love them. It's really, really cool. Another one I really like is basically the Celtic version of that. It's a different book series from a different author, but they have similarities. If you like one, you might love the other, depending on your inclinations. But it's called the Iron Druid Chronicles. And the last book just came out in April, I think. I'm trying to get my hands on it as an audio. I can't just download an MP3 and put it on my player. I don't have a phone. I don't want one. So I'm basically limited everywhere. I tried to buy it recently and I couldn't. I thought they were selling an MP3, but they didn't. And I tried different sites. They don't have it. It's a bit frustrating. I'm about to write to the author and ask if there's a way I can pay him so he'll send me a file. I don't want to have to buy a whole new player to have to install an app and stuff, because I don't want one. My player is perfectly fine. It's not a smart device. So don't punish the people. Just give me the freaking book. I want to pay for it. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell if you have it, or hard to tell if you've read it. It's a really good series. But yeah, the Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearne, Hearne. Really good as well. Again, good with the world building. It actually becomes even. He's got a whole aspect of hilarity in that series that the Dresden File has, but less so. Like, there's this comic relief character called Oberon. He's his dog, a big Irish wolfhound, and he's adorable, and he's silly, and he just brings levity in the darkest moments. It's just amazing how he does that. Good morning, Sean Lewis. Hard to tell what all I have because it's overstuffed. Yeah, I can see that. I can understand that. My bookshelf has been cleared recently. I got rid of almost every novel I had here because I don't take the time to sit down anymore and flip through a book. I'm too busy with my hands. I have to sculpt, I have to paint, I have to do something like that. If not, I'm on the run with my bicycle and I'm listening to the books. So I'm still, consuming books. I just have to listen to them. And I love that experience. It's amazing. I don't get visually distracted. I just work and I don't see time pass. It's even better than what I'm doing now. Like, you guys are keeping me company, and that's really well appreciated. But I'm still getting a bit distracted from having to read the screen. While when I want to be super efficient, I'll just put on an audiobook or a podcast and just get to it. And in no time at all, I realize, oh, it's been 8 hours. Oh, it's been 12. Oh, it's been 16, Yeah. So I had to clear my bookshelf. I'm glad I did, because it's already, the space where the books are now full of other stuff. It didn't last long. I put 2 nice jars of glass with some sand at the bottom and some nice branches sticking out to have some kind of decorative atmosphere. But now there's a big mask form like that made of clay, of the same. There's a bunch of unfinished wooden sculptures, and it doesn't look good anymore. It's just a jumble. So I had no space like that before I sorted my books and donated them. I just put them in a box outdoors with a sign like free books. Most of them left within like 2 hours. I live on a very busy street, so if you make it obvious that it's free, people will just pick it up, and you don't have to bring it to the store. It's a donations bin or anything. That's cool. You just don't do that on a rainy day, of course. Like, I have 2 cat beds to give away. I made them recently, and then I bought them better ones. I'm like, I don't want them to go to waste. They're really nice little polar fleece cat beds, and my cats won't use them, so because they would use them if I had a space for them, but their big felt cat caves are, they already have a spot for them, so I don't need to put another bed elsewhere. They have plenty of spaces they like to sleep on. Yeah, another really good series of audiobooks, or books for that matter. All those audiobooks, of course, are available as regular books. One that I really fell with, and it actually probably saved my life when I listened to it because I was going through some rough shit and I needed a distraction. It was that good. It really, one moment I would be furious at my betraying colleague who was endangering my reputation and my job, and putting me in deep trouble financially if he carried through with his threats. So that's one moment. And then the next moment, I was sculpting giant puppet heads with that book in my ears, and I was no longer frustrated. I was working, I was enjoying it. I had this story going on. That's how powerful well-written stories are. And that one is called His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. It's amazing. It's got philosophical and theological theory in there. It sounds, when I say it like that, it sounds a bit boring, but it's not. It's written by a known atheist, Philip Pullman, who's been trying to, make sure that schools and governments become, non-religious. He wants that, I forget the term, but it makes no sense for organizations like that to have a religious opinion and that influencing the classes. But anyways, if you even don't even think about that part, it's all about their super inventive world of magic and worlds, I should say, worlds of magic and determination and going against obstacles and sacrifice and redemption. It's amazing. It's called His Dark Materials. It's at least 3 books. There's more actually. He came up with some short stories to go with them to kind of study the past a little bit before the main action goes on. So there's a few books like that. It's, the whole series is available as CDs or DVDs and stuff. Someday I'd like to have it on my bookshelf, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's called The Golden Compass is the first movie they made, and they only made one. It was horrible, in my opinion, compared to the books. It was a travesty, an excuse to make money. Some of the visuals were interesting, but man, the story is horrible. It's not even a dilution of the first book. It's a pick and choose what you want and make some kind of movie that kind of relates to the thing. Ugh. But yeah, it's not even supposed to be called The Golden Compass. It's a more appealing title, I agree, but the original book was not called that. But I don't remember the actual book, original book title. Something like Northern Lights, might be something like that. Yeah, a bit less fantasy magic book kind of thing, but hey, the author had a title. Why don't you fucking respect it? Harry Potter Money Train. Yeah, they probably wanted to get on board that while Harry Potter was still hot, in the movie thing. I don't think Fantastic Beasts is as hot, popularity wise, as any of the Harry Potter movies were when they first came out. But it's still in its own right. It's still pretty freaking good. I really enjoy it. Yeah, Percy Jackson, not impressed. I mean, it could have gone so much better. I did not read the books, so I can't really compare. But if I just take the movies for what I've seen, and I have seen them all, at least 2 of them. Was there a third? I think there was a third. Anyways, and I was like, yeah, I don't know why people were so, intense about these when it first came out, and then we hear nothing anymore. Like, it's not the kind of thing that sticks in your head and you remember forever. Like, had a few interesting gags in there, but like Nathan Fillion being the god of messages. Was he like he was running a business kind of like FedEx or something? But you know, that was a funny bit. But well, just for that, not hilarious funny, but just interesting. Just a little wink at the audience. But okay, I actually, if you like a young, you know, I've been consuming a lot of young adult novels such as that, and the one series I really enjoyed was The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. Clar, I don't know how to pronounce it. Wow, they made a TV show. I just saw the first season last year. Second season? 2 seasons? 1 season? No, I only saw 1 season. And I like it. I like the TV show too, which surprised me because the books were so good. I was wondering how they would translate that to screen, and overall, they did a freaking fantastic job. So if you're a fan of the books, you might actually get to enjoy the series. I was a bit surprised at the casting at first, but then you get used to the faces and you go, oh, okay, right. That makes sense. You know, they totally fit the characters, I think. Like when they cast Lily Collins as the first, Clarissa. Is that Clarissa? It's been a while. When they did that Mortal Instruments City of Bone movie, I think they called it. I think it was called that, something like that. Which is strange because City of Bones is happening way later in the series. But anyways, she doesn't seem to. I think they kept her hair black or something, or if they dyed it red, I don't even remember. Like, she didn't make an impression on me. I like her, but in that role, I didn't see it. But the new actress on the current show, based on the same books, is totally killing it. Like all of them, like fantastic. The one casting choice that I thought was weird was Isabel. I thought it was really strange. But now that I see her in the role, I like, yeah, she makes sense. Kind of what happened with Hagrid in the Harry Potter movies. I thought the actor they chose was like weird. Like, what? But he's so good. He's so good that he convinced me. Like, now the face of Hagrid is his face. I can't see the face. I can't remember what the face I imagined Hagrid had when I read the books. Like Robbie something, the actor, the British actor. That's his face now in my head. So all the others, you know, Luna was not exactly as I imagined her, but she makes perfect sense. When I first saw her, I was like, okay, that's Luna. That makes sense. Hermione looks a lot prettier in the movies than I imagined in the books. But, you know, that's what they do for movies. They give everybody a Hollywood treatment. But everybody was perfect. When I first saw the casting, before I even saw the movies, I was like, whoa, perfect choice. You know, especially the Harry, Hermione, and Ron trio. They did a fantastic job with casting them. Yeah, all those movies, so many of them make that mistake of, and I'm a contrarian person. Like I'll do what people don't expect, or I'll feel it without my control. But all these movies where they have a geeky girl who's supposed to not look cute at first, and then she gets a makeover or changes her mind, and oh my god, now she's the swan. And usually, I think most of the times, when they do that, I think she looked amazing at first. You know, the natural look, the way that she was, and she feels like inferior because of that. And then they do the makeover, and I think she looks horrible. What? Exactly. Right. So I agree with the casting of Hermione. It would have been funner if they had gone all the way with the description in the book when she had the longer teeth and, you know, a bit of a messy hair. I think it was in the movie. Like, she looks good from the start. Like, it's not that accident that happened and she decided to take advantage and fix her teeth, you know. In the book, she mentions something about that. She says, well, her parents will kill her, but, you know, because they're dentists, they could have fixed it for her. But she used magic instead. I think that's brilliant. Yep. Yeah. I thought both her parents were dentists. Maybe I got the information wrong in my memory. But yeah, it's like, what's the name of that one? There's a movie about that girl. There's several of them, but one in particular that's all about the teen stuff, where the geek girl gets picked on, and this one guy makes it what's it called, a wager with his friends that he's gonna turn her into a popular girl. And I'm like, she was so cute before they messed with her. You know, how can you believe that she's plain looking and forgettable when she's so cute to start with? That just doesn't track with me. It doesn't make sense. It's been a long time, yeah. On this sculpture, or how did it take me to learn to do this? Because those are two different questions. I need to know which one you're asking. Unless you want me to answer both of them. And hello, by the way. Okay. First of all, it took me, ever since I started sculpting, which I was in college when I started really trying, and I did some tiny figurines and busts. So that was back in 1997, probably, when I tried to do something that actually looked like something in sculpture. I had tried before, but I had no foundations and no way to learn without discipline, which I did not have. So I was not the kind of kid who borrows a book and follows it exactly and learns the techniques. I just couldn't do it. I just was too distracted. And I didn't have any mentor to help me. So I was really, really bad when I first started later in life. You know, as opposed to some sculptors who sculpted all their lives. I started when I was a teenager, on and off. I would dabble in it, but it never ended up with something I liked. And then in college, I did a few tiny heads. I was trying to make some necklaces and pendants to sell for a fundraiser for the school yearbook, And it never, I think I sold for $2 of stuff because I was selling things for 25 cents and 50 cents because it wasn't selling for more. Pathetic. But anyways, from that, I kind of took the bite. It's like I had a bite from sculpture, and I really had to keep doing it. And eventually, in 1998, 99, perhaps, I ended up finishing a puppet. It just turned into a puppet. I love puppet, but I didn't know that I could ever even make one, finish one, and maybe even use one. But when I finished it, I was like, whoa, this is the best satisfaction I've ever had for anything I've ever made. I'm going to make a business. This is going to be my job. And I was already at that time studying graphic design. I was almost done with my degree. And I wasn't really good at the graphic design. I still got my degree, but I couldn't do that for a living for long because it was just too technical, too mathematical, in my opinion. I needed more freedom than that. More freedom. So the short answer to the first question, it took me from starting to get interesting results in 1998, I would say, or 97, to today, because I keep improving, to be able to do something like this. This is the current level of my sculpting skills. Of course, we don't have detail yet. I was about to start the details after I was done smoothing these new pieces of clay together, but I noticed some other defects I needed to fix. So that's my life. Every time I think I'm finished, I have to do more work. And this one, yeah, I'm 40 now, so I don't look it, I don't sound it, but I am. And for this particular sculpture, this is probably, I didn't really count, but it feels like it's been 6 work sessions so far. probably going to be 3 more at least. And a work session will last probably anywhere between 6 hours to 16. Depends on how I feel, how many jobs I have at the time. So today I've only been working for 2 hours and a half on this guy. 2 more hours because 1 more hour because I was on iVlog before I was on YouTube today. So at least 1 more hour. So 3 hours today, almost 3:30. The crock pot is to keep the clay warm because this is the clay at room temperature. This is the clay when it's malleable, when it's warm. There's lots of wax in it. The wax makes it hard. There's some oil in it. The wax makes it soft and it makes you be able to blend it when it's warm. This kind of clay can stay on your shelf for years if it's not near a heat source, if it's not too close to the sunlight. So the only way to make it malleable is to heat it up. That's why I have this torch here that I use the flame of it to to melt the clay together so it doesn't separate anymore. If I were to, I'll show you an example on the snout here. It's pretty rough right now and I'd like to get rid of this line. So I'll just go and heat it up. I can use my fingers and blend, or I could use a tool, or I can do both. I usually do a combination. And that's one of the steps. You know, you could go with tools if you don't want to damage your skin texture. Because it does get a bit harsh over time. A bit abrasive on the skin. If you're patient, you can actually reach a mirror finish by gradually heating the surface. Just like this. Eventually you want to take a break and let it cool down, go somewhere else. You could also speed it up by using a chemical that you should not use because it's too toxic. It could kill you. But some people have a trick that you speed freeze your clay as you just did that, and immediately you can go back. But first of all, it's wasteful. You know, first of all, it's toxic. Second of all, it's super wasteful because it's in a can and it's a single-use thing. So I'm trying to find a way to something similar that will not be toxic or wasteful. So far, cold water with ice cubes in a spray bottle works, but it leaves droplets of water on the surface, which I don't like. So maybe I should keep a sponge to keep the water out when I'm done. But yeah, I think I should have done. Oh my goodness, I never thought of it. Thank you for asking the questions. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting rid of the tool marks, and you'll see in a moment how shiny that is. And the more you do it, the more it melts and evens out. I don't want this dragon to be so shiny when I'm done. So the final smoothing will actually, after this, and after maybe a finger polishing with some water or some alcohol and a bit of oil in it to make sure it's not too powdery, I can go back with with naphtha, white spirit, because it's super volatile. It evaporates super quick, but it attacks the clay more than alcohol. And that's how you really get the smooth without being shiny. And you can create some amazing skin textures with that because you might have lots of very tiny fiddly bits that you're going to blend as much as you want. You can get rid of all the texture or a little bit at a time. You decide. So this stuff is fantastic because it doesn't dry, it doesn't crack, doesn't fall off its shape. Like right now, there's no armature in this. It's just a solid piece of clay because I did not need any kind of wire or wood in there for this job. It's too much of a big bulky thing. If it was a lot longer, like twice the length of this snout, I would definitely have had to make an armature. But I judged, and I was right, thankfully, that I did not need one this time around. So it's a solid piece of clay, except for the gap in the mouth, of course. It's how strong it is. If I were to do this with regular water-based clay, it would crack. It would be a mess. It would always be, it would make a lot of dust and mud everywhere. It dries your skin as well. I use that clay a lot, by the way, for other things. But for this kind of project, I prefer the monster clay because I don't have to worry about the mess. I don't have to worry about always having to keep it moist and keep an eye on it, make sure it's not drying out and it's not falling off the shape. It's just a nightmare when you don't know what you're doing. Even when you do, it's a lot more maintenance. So with this clay, monster clay, and other similar ones like Chavant at SP, Chavant and SP, or um, Roma Plastilina, for example, those are all their popular brands. You you have the same properties. They're hard at room temperature, and they're available at different hardness levels, of course. But they get malleable when they're hot. So I could attack this with a heat gun and really melt it all beautifully together. But then you don't control your edges; it could melt off. Or first time I was using this torch on a project, I underestimated the power of the heat getting deeper into the clay, and I ended up I was blowing away a particle that landed on it, and I blew away half of the face of the character because it was tiny and it was made of a cheaper kind of material. It was sculpted in some clay, in some kids clay, like it was called Giotto Pongo. It was an Italian brand, I think. Very, very cheap plasticine. So this stuff is to be used, I would recommend, only on the hard stuff, like Monster Clay Medium or hard. This one is a mix of the two, of Monster Clay Hard and Medium. Because for years, from 2012, from 2006, wait, no, 2012, yeah. From 2012 to recently, like early 2017, I only bought the medium because that's all they had. And then they came out with the hard and the soft. So I started only buying the hard. So now it's a mix of mostly the medium and some hard in it. And so far, I've gotten used to this new consistency. It's been so gradual that I haven't noticed the difference, but I know that it is because my sculptures are less prone to being damaged when they're in storage or in progress. When I do the final smoothing, I'll probably have to trim my fingernails completely so that I don't scratch it by mistake as I manipulate the sculpture as a sculpt. So that's another trick. But with this, it's a lot less of a risk, but I'll still do it probably. Some people use a microwave oven to heat this clay, and it works. But I stopped doing that since, well, first of all, my microwave oven died. And second of all, I didn't want to get a new one because I don't use it for food either. And I saw online a sculptor who said that monster clay loses its properties if you keep using it in a microwave. And I'm like, no way. It's expensive enough as it is. I'm not going to kill its properties. I'm not going to make it dry and crackle, and cracking if I can avoid it. So with the crock pot, it doesn't seem to change the properties at all, unless of course I overcook it, and in which case some of the wax will crystallize and it will become tiny lumps, which I do have to get rid of. So that's a bit annoying. So I've discovered recently that on my crock pot, I can heat it up at the medium level, which is called low. The lowest level is not hot enough to melt the clay at first, so I have to use the middle one that's called low and leave it on for like 30 minutes at least before I start sculpting. Then I can bring it down to warm to keep the heat up for a while, but I don't usually do that. I just turn off the heat, and the remaining heat in there will keep the clay warm for a few hours. So it's very energy efficient. I don't have to worry about wasting any energy. So I've got this, I had this zigzag pattern on the front of the snout that I really liked. Instead of being a straight line, I thought it was more interesting to have this slightly, that very stretched out S shape. So I'm going to restore that because I lost it a bit when I was doing the straight line test for symmetry. Yeah, so this guy is going to be very friendly. But if people want a mean or an angry version of this guy, actually, he will never look angry. He will look malicious because he's always got that smile. but I can always add eyebrows, like a line of synthetic fur that will make him look, sadistic, basically, gleeful in his domination of other characters. But yeah, having a friendly looking dragon, I hope that it will allow me to sell more copies, because so many children's show people who perform children's shows, they are so scared of scaring the audience members. I understand, they're making a living with shows, and they probably don't want to chase away their audience. But I understand, like, they really want to make sure that they don't traumatize the children. Sometimes I really, miss making really scary monsters. I haven't made that many. I've always had to tone it down a bit. So, yeah. How heavy? Not very. This is clay. You don't make a puppet out of clay unless you're out of your mind. You make a model with clay or anything else, really, and you make a mold, should you need to. And from that mold, you make a copy. And my copy will be made of rubber latex. For that size and shape, I am not worried about the weight at all. It will probably be less than 2 pounds of weight. I don't know how that is in kilos, but probably a lot less than 2 pounds. Depends on how much I put foam inside the head. Should I need to, I probably will have to, just to, serve as a cushion and a capture for the hand. I have to sculpt it a bit bigger so that more people can wear it. Plus, the latex shrinks as it cures in the plaster mold. So I have to plan ahead for that. I have to make sure that it's not going to be too narrow for most people. So my hands are average sized for both men and women. That's a nice advantage. I know that the customer this is going to, one of them has got pretty much the same size of hands as I do, because I've been building puppets for them for a while, and I made a new pattern based on their pattern for the glove puppets, and I know that they fit, so I got this to reassure me. Oh, definitely. It's melting the wax content, and that's what makes it soft. Yeah, so this puppet will have a rubber latex head and a fabric neck, and it will also have an arm with claws at the end, like the dragon will have a hand sticking out up at booth. This dragon is going with, to share the stage with glove puppets, that kind of puppet. Hello, my head is here. These are my arms. So, kind of like that. Hi, I'm a puppet. No. Scary stuff. I gotta be careful because I keep poking myself on these teeth. That's a real thing, by the way. It's a real taxidermied. I'm not sure. I mean, you should be able to tell from the shape, but I forgot the difference. It's either a crocodile or an alligator from Florida. Baby, of course. Taxidermied in a cheap way. But I'm using it as a reference for some of the more reptilian shapes, like the membrane will be very useful where the two jaws are separating. So yeah, for this kind of job, they needed a huge dragon that will swallow one of the characters, or maybe several, I don't remember. So it would either going to be foam covered in fur and other fabrics, or it was going to be this. There were several ways to do it, but I was like, I haven't made a latex puppet in a while, and I think this would fit perfectly for the show. They agreed. They took a chance on me. I think they're happy. When they see the pictures and the video updates, they react really well. I just noticed some bumps I don't like. I'm simplifying the top of the snout, basically, because it was a bit distracting. I have been hired in the past. It depends on the customers, really. Sometimes the customers already have a drawing from themselves or from someone they already hired for sketching. But most of them hire me so that I can design and build. I prefer to do that actually. But sometimes it's fun for a change to adapt a drawing into a sculpture, a drawing that I did not make. It's a different challenge. It's a way to study another style. Plus, it's great because I don't have any moral quandary about it because I'm allowed to do it because they have the rights to the character. So, and I make damn sure that they do before I agree to work on it. I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, it's a fun challenge. I've done that a few times, mostly for book characters, publishing companies, or individual artists who made books. They needed a puppet to promote their book and stuff. So they would give me drawings of their character from the front and the profile, at least. Better yet, if they have other angles. Otherwise, I have to figure it out, which is more work, and therefore I charge more money. But I've always succeeded. Every time I adapted a character, they ended up having a bargain because not only do I give them the puppet they wanted, but the sculpture is so close to the drawing. It's such a good average of all their drawing angles that they end up with a model that they can use to draw their characters again for future books and other things. Like this one guy did not, most people I've worked for, since I started, even some professional illustrators that have been published, and sometimes with other people, sometimes with their own work, they don't have the ability yet, or even they never maybe even noticed that their profile views of their own characters do not fit their front views. And that's a problem, especially if you're going to make a sculpture out of it, because how is that nose really if it looks so different from the front and the profile? If it doesn't make sense anatomically speaking, my job is to make it make sense. So I have to ask the customer, which one is the most representative of the angles? Like, which angle is the most representative for your character? Which drawing specifically should I use as my main reference so that the end result is totally the character you have in mind? Because every time they draw it, it's a little bit different, and that's understandable. Nobody's a machine, right? But if they had a model, if they had sculpted it or hired someone to sculpt it, they would have something to look at. And then if they need a view from above on one side, a specific angle, they can have exactly that because they've seen it. So long story short, most of the work I do is original, based on their description of what they need. But sometimes I get to convert another person's design into a puppet or a mask or even a sculpture sometimes. It's pretty cool to do. I like to do that. But I would get bored if I only did that. So it's great that it's an occasional thing that happens. Like if anybody is watching who might want a caricature puppet of their dog or their cat, or I can do that too. I get hired by people of all kinds for all kinds of projects. It's all a question of, do they have the budget and do I have the time? When those two criteria meet is when the projects happen. I hope that answers your question properly. Excuse me, I think you heard that. Oh no, I have to apologize for my bodily functions, of which I have no control over. Society is weird. You're welcome. No, I don't have any children. Sometimes I yearn for a dedicated and disciplined apprentice so I could teach them what I know, but I haven't found anyone reliable yet. It would have also to be a proper exchange, like I could not possibly exploit someone else. You know, it's something I'm against. So if somebody says, many people have told me, like, I'll come work for you for free. Just teach me what you know. And I'm like, you know, if I see they're not motivated, I'm not even going to take a chance on them because I don't want to waste my time, don't want to waste their time. But if somebody, you know, is really into it and can prove to me that they're motivated, I'm going to move to your town for the time it takes to stay there for a year or something. You show me what you know. In exchange for work hours, for sure, if the deal is good for both of us. But so far, I haven't found anyone like that. Or they haven't found me. But it would have to be something local. It's more reliable, of course, because they could come and help in the studio. Because I'm willing to share all I know. I've been teaching for years. But most of my students, unfortunately, are hobbyists who may or may not ever use the techniques again. Hey, I get paid anyways. But I'd rather, you know, not waste my time on people who will not use it properly or at all. So that's why I want to focus more on eventually selling my videos, my tutorial videos. I already have 2 on the way, so that the info is not lost. You know, techniques that I use that others may not be using, that I want to make sure that survive me, you know. I lost some sharpness on this nose, but I kind of like it. My father had the potential to be a really good artist, but he got distracted. My mother, both my parents actually, had some really good potential for being good visual artists. Like, my mom could draw. There was a time, she says she can't anymore, but I'm sure it's just a question of self-doubt. But there was a time when she could actually just look at something, like a drawing that already exists, and she could reproduce it like that, like really easily. My father has a fantastic handwriting. His handwriting looks like a professional calligraphy, you know. He could draw faces, like super schematic, simple but super clean faces to explain things. Faces and characters, of course, but never like elaborate. But judging from this, knowing what I know now, I know that both my parents could have become really good visual artists. But my mom was more musical than she was visual in her choices, so she became a singer. My father became a technician for a school, like he was responsible for inventory and maintenance of all the supplies and tools of the school. So that was not super artistic, but they always had like those inclinations. So I guess their unfulfilled or potential was translated to me. Like, they never pushed me, but my mom encouraged me to be creative. My father gave me some tools so I could keep on, you know, try new things, which I'm grateful for. But I never had any training on that front. I had to get it from online mostly. I took a few classes, but none in the sculpture department that were technically savvy enough. So I had to learn mostly from videos and articles. Before YouTube, I had to learn from written articles with some pictures. But then I got a real boost when YouTube came around, when videos became easy to share online. That meant that I had more inputs. I could understand better and faster because I saw it move, you know? It's no longer, oh, I can't see very clearly, or I don't understand this too much. So from the YouTube moments, I was like, oh my God, that's so easy, you know? And you could also send messages to people. Most would not reply, but some who did helped me out a lot. And I do the same. I answer technical questions all the time because I feel it's important for all of us to share and learn from each other. So I've noticed it's been almost 3 hours. It will have been in 5 minutes, so I think it's a good time for me to stop. Oh, definitely. There's a lot here. You have to sort through a lot of distracting things before you get to the gems. You know, really good technical information that you might use right now. But hey, it's free, so you got to work a little bit for it. That totally makes sense. But if you want to learn faster, it's better to pay for a tutorial. Like you go with an artist who already has the techniques that you want. Obviously, like you go like, this isn't obviously what I need, so I'll buy their video, or on Discord just as a stream. Encourage them, of course, by paying for it, not just stealing it. And that's how I learn mostly nowadays for sculpting skills. There's this series of DVDs I keep buying. Like anytime he's got a new one, automatically I'll buy it as soon as I can, because I know it's top quality stuff. So for the curious, his name is Philippe Farot. He's a French guy living in the United States. So now he's American. And his techniques are amazing. You've probably seen his work go viral several times online. Like he's got these videos that people don't even credit properly, but it's his. Like you see this beautiful lady being sculpted, you know, it's very up close. You see a pair of hands or one hand with some drapery. His website has all these samples of videos from his DVDs, so they're really worth it. Like I think a DVD is like $70, something like that. But you can get the streams now, which is even cheaper. But $70 is a gift, because if you took a class from him, it would probably hello gas lamp. It would probably cost you $600 for 2 days, or probably more actually, because the information is valuable. But if you go with a DVD, he sells many copies of that, so you can afford to lower the price a bit for more people to afford it. So $70 is still a crazy cheap price for the precious information that you get. So yes, I'm doing the smoothing on this dragon puppet sculpt, and soon next time I'll be working on the details. Math explanations, I'm not so in depth. Well, if you say unfortunately, I'm trying to help here. A lot of people, in my opinion, in my observations, if not everybody, probably everybody, if you say things like, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish, I so wish I was good enough to do this, I wish I knew where to start, I wish I had this talent, these are all mistakes and obstacles we put in front of ourselves. It's all doubt, preventing you from reaching for the stars. That part that says I wish is the part of you that says I can, if you only will give me a chance. So my advice is always try, always start somewhere and keep doing whatever you want to learn until you get good enough. That's the secret. It's not just to start right now, it's to do it until you get results that you can like. Just give it a proper fair shake. Don't just give up after the first obstacles. Keep going, because eventually you get good at it. Even the most advanced artists that I follow, the ones that impress me the most, have bouts of doubt. They have that imposter syndrome, like, what the fuck am I doing? Am I even worthy? Why should I even bother? If these people have doubts, imagine the rest of us, You're welcome. So I'm leaving in less than a minute, because I said I would, and I tried to follow my own example, follow my own sayings. Thank you for the conversations. I really appreciate that. I will be back soon to work more on this guy. I just noticed that I need to thicken that snout a bit more, because it's dangerously narrow, and I think my hand and other people's hands might not fit considering the shrinkage. So I do need to modify that a little bit by lifting that whole thing up. So whatever, to finish on a nice positive note, is whatever you want to learn, if it doesn't if it doesn't, or even if it does include imply a physical deformity or limitation that you think you have, there are still ways around it. Usually some painters don't even have hands, and they do beautiful paintings using the brushes in their mouth or with their feet. So if they can do a good job, maybe you can do a good job. Just do it, try it. learn whatever you want to learn step by step. Take some training because that's going to boost you. That's going to give you solid foundations. If at first it doesn't work for you, you don't like the teacher, change the teacher. It's just different people have different ways. But you want to learn the guitar, get yourself a good guitar, get yourself some training. If you have the discipline to do it on your own, then do so. But I highly recommend to get some training as soon as possible because it gives you the foundations from which you can grow faster. That way, you don't have to learn everything from scratch. You start from some solid ground, good fertile soil basically, and then you move on from there. So that's how I learned my sculpting, and that's how I learned drawing, painting. I don't have any natural talents for this at all. I was really bad when I started, and now I make a living from it. It took me a decade, but to be proud of my work. Now I am, and I still have doubts, of course, but I now love what I do most of the time, which is big progress for me because I used to hate it until it was done. And even then, I was not always happy. So nowadays, I work so hard that I know I'll like it because I have to. Here you go. Have a good night. This video is so long, I'll probably not even leave it up. Um, probably will not ever leave the live streams up for some reason. I don't feel comfortable doing that, but I will keep uploading new videos, of course, eventually when I have a bit more time. Videos that stay there, of course. Thank you for watching. And have a beautiful, inspiring day. And I'll be here back eventually soon. Oh, by the way, I will type this so people get it faster. I usually broadcast on iVlog.tv. Yeah. That's the site I use the most. When there's no traffic there, I'll come here. So, on iVlog.tv, my name over there and everywhere else is, for my art anyways, is Futurist. That's how you can find me. So, should you be interested in following my work, hang out in a slightly less relaxing atmosphere, then that's where I'm at. Goodbye. Have a fantastic time.